When I started working on this video, I originally intended for it to be another how to fix such and such proposal, but pretty much immediately after starting it, some pretty glaring problems became obvious with Survivor's role and playstyle as a whole. And I realized it's completely unfixable because of the problems built into the role of a true neutral as a whole in a game like this. To the point where I think this video is much better spent explaining what Survivor was intended to be, what it actually is, and the unhealthy way it affects the game and the way people play it. Let's get into it. Number 1, nobody likes Kingmakers. In a game like Town of Salem, where there are more than two factions, Kingmakers are inevitable in some games, but they're a necessary evil that comes with having complex roles and factions. And games with one town, one mafia, and one neutral killing aren't fun, but each role's goal here was to eliminate the others before they got to this point, so while it isn't the player's fault, it's obvious that these kind of endgames weren't something intended to be common by the developers, as shown in the role's win conditions. Enter Survivor. Survivors are the only true neutral in the game. There are others that fall under the neutral benign umbrella, but Guardian Angels are loyal to their target, and Amnesiacs are only neutral until they remember a role and become loyal to its faction. As Survivor, your only goal is to see the game to its end alive, and most of the time, you'll end up being a Kingmaker. You have to pick someone to side with, and it sucks playing as any role, really, and losing because a role that adds nothing to any faction claims Survivor every day and then voted you out in the last trial. Survivor as a whole is nothing more than a king-making role, and the developers are well aware of this because it shows up as one of the tips before you start the game. It's unfun for everyone when one player decides the outcome of a game on a coin flip, so players have decided they don't want it to come down to that at all, which leads me to number 2, no leads, hang the serve claim. Don't mistake this for me disagreeing with this. I absolutely go after survivor claims if there's not a bigger fish to fry. I just think it's indicative of the community's huge distrust of survivor claims because of how easy it is to claim. Survivor existing gives evils a weak and easy claim, which discourages interesting fake claims and makes games much more boring. How many games have we seen where the werewolf claims survivor and gets voted up on day 3? It's incredibly boring and obvious. Had the rule Survivor never existed, they would have had to claim something more bold, or at the very least, sheriff or doctor, or literally anything that isn't as completely brain dead as a Survivor claim. And it goes the other way too. When you're playing Mafia and there's a jailer in the game and you don't know who they are, who do you attack? The Survivor claim. Wouldn't it be more fun if it was a little harder to figure out what these roles really are? I don't know about you, but I play Town of Salem because I like solving the mystery of who's who and sorting through players' lies, and Survivor existing as a fake claim makes the game so much duller. Number 3, Survivor is boring as hell to play. I think we as the community are at fault for this. We've created an environment where if you want to claim Survivor, you have to play extremely passively. You have to abstain on all votes, you can't lead the discussion on anything, and you must claim Survivor day 1 and remind the town every day from then on. And if you don't, you'll be called out as suspicious because why would a neutral act like that? Why is the serve guiltying? Why does the serve care who gets voted? So you'll sit there with no real knight ability, not being able to vote, and not being able to get claims. That doesn't sound like a very fun game to me. I'd actually argue that this wasn't the intended playstyle of Survivor. All you want is to see the game end while you're alive, right? So, going purely on logic, wouldn't you want to be extremely aggressive and get everyone killed, no matter the faction, to bring the game to an end quicker? It doesn't matter who wins, right? You even have vests to protect you for if you piss off a faction with killing power with your votes. I actually think the way Shadowbeats plays Survivor is the most logical. I'll link to an example of one of his games, but he essentially does exactly this while explaining what he's doing to the town at the beginning of the game. And despite what he's doing making perfect logical sense, he still gets voted often just because this playstyle goes against the passive sit around and do nothing way we force survivors to play. If you want to do anything as Survivor, you'll be seen as suspicious. Number 4, you can't fake claim. Okay, I hear you say, I don't want to play like that, so I just won't claim Survivor. Good luck. You're already forced to make weaker claims because you have no faction to back you up, so half your possible fake claims are already out the window. But more importantly, what are you gonna do when you get attacked? You're claiming a town role, so eventually Mafia, Coven, Vampires, whatever, they're gonna attack you, and there's no way town is going to believe you're served when they out you, because, like we said earlier, why didn't you claim serve day 1? And if you plan to get around this by somehow finding evils and telling them you're really Survivor before they attack you, they'll always be super, super cautious of you because arsonists are a thing. They straight up might vote you an evil majority to be 100% certain, and can you really blame them for it? So, in conclusion, there's nothing that can be done to fix Survivor. I'd argue that the game would be much better off without it existing. We'd have less kingmakers, more interesting and entertaining fate claims from evils in town alike, and be removing the possibility of getting a role whose only option is to stare at their screen and do nothing. When scripting this video, I asked for feedback on Discord, and I think this response I got pretty much summarizes the community's opinion on Survivor as a whole. It just feels like a non roll, with no influence over the game except at the very end, which, as you said, results in more or less a coin flip situation. When I play Town of Salem, I want to play Town of Salem, not cower in fear every night for no good reason. Thanks for watching.